the angle I'll be looking at is...
Well, actually, that's not the case because I advertise it.
Is it best to look at it as a title?
The one thing that never fails to surprise me is how willing teachers are to talk about teaching. They're not very happy to talk about paperwork. They're happy to talk about teaching, the students they teach, what puzzles them, what fascinates them, what intrigues them.
So it's going to be like an action...
What, so using them as a...
In the session this evening, you had people talking to one another who, yes, would know one another, but actually they rarely would talk with one another about what they do and why they do it.
One of the things that I'm going to look at is the implementation of successful schemes of work across sixth form subjects. It's always good to talk about your experiences and gain the knowledge of others' experiences and then implement those into your classroom, into your management experience, or so on and so forth. I think teachers just like to talk.
At Shenfield School, a 1,500-strong comprehensive in suburban Essex, 14 of the teaching staff are currently studying for a Masters in Teaching, the M-Teach, run by the Institute of Education. A unique feature of the course is that it is based in the school, and research projects characteristically focus on teachers' own classes.
We all have accents, he said, that we hate. What accent grinds on you?
The first year of the M-Teach is taught sessions in the school, and the first year looks reflectively at your own practice, what you are doing in your classroom.
Where might we use conversion the other way, where you deliberately try to sound a bit more street?
I thought it would be a management course, so how to get people to do what you want them to do. And it wasn't. It was looking at what you do in your room on a daily basis, but stopping and writing a diary about it.
What then, like, not like in the way we say like all the time?
I focused on my A-level class and how I was teaching them, and my aim was to look at how perhaps I could be more active with them and more engaging, because it tends to be I talk, they write. And I hate that, and I wanted to break that down.
What about if the seat of power in this country was Birmingham?
I spent time at the end of every lesson writing down what we did, how we did it. And at the end of it, we had to write a piece of coursework.
What's the term for when something's really good in this school? Wicked.
When I originally signed up to the course, I was newly appointed to second in department in English, but I wasn't ready to make the next step. So I took the M-Teach thinking it would allow me to be more reflective. And then, you know, life happens, and midway through my second year as second in department, I went on maternity leave.
Essex to Hertfordshire will have different words for different things.
The M-Teach stayed with me, and I did it throughout my maternity leave, and that allowed me a really good natural gap at looking at my own practice and my own attitudes to my practice and how I could improve being in the classroom.
Can you do me a David Beckham?
And I just kind of tried to get through the game, if you know like what I mean, like, and I just kind of focused on the match, yeah.
Brilliant.
I enjoyed being in the room with the students. The management side of things just doesn't have the same appeal for me anymore. And so I'd like to expand perhaps into an advanced skills teacher or working with new teachers to support them in their first few years of teaching.
The idea of this is simply to give you an introduction to the practice-based inquiry part of the course.
The M-Teach is a 3-year course. In the first year, students reflect on their own practice. In the second year, they devise a research proposal, and in the third, they carry out and write up the research they've proposed.
I like to see as full a final draft as you can get me. The third year group here at Shenfield, they're moving on from the stage of having done that module in research and professional practice, and they're now thinking of how to translate that into the reality of doing a small-scale piece of inquiry here in the school.
We're going to do a little investigation today into how emulsifiers work. These are mini marshmallows. These use emulsifiers.
I'm now in my 4th year of teaching, and I've done all 4 years here. At the moment, I am the Gifted and Talented Coordinator, and I've just been promoted to lead teacher in chemistry as well, so I'm essentially in charge of the chemistry department in science as well.
If we really quickly make sure we get those goggles out. Ladies in that corner, I know that you're trying to get some goggles, but are there any questions?
Do you have to put the vinegar in first?
So you saw our Year 9 Fast Track GCSE group this morning. So it's a group of 28 girls. They're the brightest girls in that year group. I actually used that group in my first year project of the M-Teach.
Amy, where is she?
The proposal is to work on the gifted and talented area in the school. As a result of our Ofsted inspection that we had done, Ofsted said that we don't extend our most able.
Is this the one with the mustard powder in it?
Yeah, we are after.
I plan to gather evidence from departments of the things that they're doing, speak to students to get their views, and then do a similar sort of thing after I've implemented the improvements.
Have you had all the discussion about the PGCE?
Shenfield is one of the original training schools and hosts local initial teacher training sessions. John Fairhurst is head teacher.
In my experience, the status of the teaching profession has actually shifted for the better. When I started, there was a somewhat sneery attitude, those who can do, those who can't teach, and teachers were unsupported. And I want the teaching profession to be better respected, to be more academic, to be more reflective, and ultimately, as a consequence of those things, frankly, more professional and better paid.
You've got to be pretty organised to be a successful teacher, though.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The Masters in Teaching course, which is run by the Institute of Education and University of London, attracted a good number of our staff, something like 9 in its first 2 years. Of those 9, I think 4 of them still work for us, but they're heads of faculty now. The 17 who are now in their 3rd year of the course have actually all fed back very positively on their learning experiences.
What you need to do is write that question down. How important is the character crux in Of Mice and Men? I started at Shenfield High School as an NQT, so this is my 7th year now. I was assistant head of sixth form for 2 years, and I'm now head of sixth form, which started in September. Now this is exactly the type of question that you could get in your exam. In 2007, when we had our last Ofsted inspection, they graded the sixth form as good. We didn't quite make the outstanding, so I'm now working towards either my dissertation or report, whichever route I decide to take, and that is going to be based on how I'm going to implement the changes that I want to within the sixth form to take it through to achieve the outstanding during the Ofsted inspection.
Without him.
Yeah, without him there wouldn't be any racism.
The M-Teach is really good because it also, you can mould it around your practice. And what things have you written down? When I wrote up the research and professional practice module, I did it on our Key Stage 5 review, and that was really inspirational. You know, you just get so motivated to do something, and I was so behind it, and I wanted to find out what the students were thinking and what the teachers thought about it.
He's not allowed to play cards with everyone. He lives on his own, and he's got no one to talk to.
Because he's black, he's treated differently.
What's that called?
Racism.
Racism. I've implemented a new personal tutor programme. They're each allocated a form tutor, and then their form tutor has a set amount of time per fortnight to individually track and monitor and assess every individual student.
Log on back to the centre, and then once you're logged on, bring us back into the centre, please.
I'm a manager at the end of the day, and I've got to try to keep my best teachers with me in this school if I can. So the course is 3 years. They sign a piece of paper at the beginning of those 3 years to say they expect to stay at Shenfield, so we pay 2/3 of the fees.
You.
And on graduation, if they sign another piece of paper, for a 4th year, we'll reimburse them that 1/3.
Right, what are we going to do today? We're going to identify the requirements of the client brief.
I was previously in the IT industry, but decided I needed a change in my life. I went into teaching. My preferred route was the SCIT course, which is a school-centred initial teacher training. So I was based within Shenfield High School.
What we can do is we can actually break the presentation down step by step.
Once I finished the SCIT year, I then moved on to my NQT year. The M-Teach was then promoted within the school. I just felt that it was a good time to continue the learning because I didn't feel that I was a finished product.
Yeah, it's pretty clear because it's telling you what to do all the time, and it's got like all the writing coming in telling you.
Right, what we're focusing on this message is really the flower onto the handles.
At the end of the previous last term, we introduced a brand new vocational course across the school. I wanted to give the kids a different experience within this vocational course.
Like you use the line tool or the fill-in tool.
All right, that's fantastic.
With that in mind, I've decided to focus my dissertation on personalised learning within the vocational environment.
What's the other difference on there?
If you do a bit of research, you've got to keep it incredibly tight and focused.
Zoe's the type of person we naturally get on quite well together. From the M-Teach perspective, we use each other as forms of inspiration. You know, we set ourselves deadlines. Zoe deals with vocational education across the school. Last year I'd have been stupid implementing a vocational course and not using a skill base that was there.
So with Rob, I have quite a close relationship because our dissertations are quite closely linked, whereas I'm looking at the introduction of the change on the macro level, he's looking at it from more of his subject-specific area. Don't own up if this is your mission statement. Anyone got any ideas? I'm 4 years into my teaching. I knew that I'd be quite ambitious when I started in this career, and within the first year or so I picked up a responsibility here for course leader of A-level accounting. Think about what your aim is for your young enterprise company. This year we've introduced one BTEC course in business studies, one in performing arts and one in sport to try and capture our market really for those kids who would normally go off to college and perhaps not get the support that the sixth form here at Shenfield offers. What was the purpose of those mission statements?
They're supposed to give you a rough idea of what their aims are.
Doesn't tell us one key thing though, does it? At the end of my NQT year, the whole staff were given the opportunity to do a Masters with the Institute of Education. And a lot of us felt that a Masters would be a good progression on from our NQT year. Your standards and the purpose of your business, and to show you the aim, so what the business wants to do. Being school-centred was a definite positive because it allows not only for reflection from us in our day-to-day work, but it's allowing us to get accreditation for actually being active in our school environment. It's trying to tell us what it's going to do, but it doesn't tell us what other aspects. What, Michael?
How we're going to do it.
Excellent, well done. In my first year, I focused specifically on the credibility of A-level accounting because that was what my responsibility was within the school at that point. The second year, I got my call into the headmaster's office. We'd like to expand vocational education, so I thought this was a great opportunity for my second and my third year focus for my MTeach to be on educational change, and in particular the change of the curriculum to more towards vocational education. So, but it doesn't show precisely how the business is going to achieve their aims. So, what I want you to do is to come up with a mission statement for your company. So there are a lot of case studies that are available in schools that have implemented this, which will form part of my research. But I'm also planning on looking at how the change has impacted the students. Making a friend. Looking at the school on a micro level, this school is very similar to a lot of schools that exist out there, and hopefully that the results that I come up with through looking at my dissertation and looking at change and bringing in vocational education will be an inspiration to other schools.
What if the Queen started the Christmas speech with a Brummie accent?
In the short term, I think when the head looked at the MTeach, he saw it as a marketing ploy to attract teachers in a very difficult area and to retain staff. He makes the joke that we all have to stay for 3 years, and the MTeach ties us to that. But I think it's gone further than that now. Because the research is in his school, because we are active researchers on his premises, then obviously it has an impact on the learning environment at this school.
We often talk about lifelong learning in the context of the children facing a fast changing future. But it seems to me if you're to be a 21st century teacher, you've got to actually walk that talk, and you've got to adapt with the times as well. Otherwise you'll get hideously left behind and the children will cease to relate to you, and your teaching will not be the joy that perhaps it is at this stage in your career. It's a duty upon us not to get stale.